How's it going, fight fans? Joey G from Wrestling Inc., and I am sitting here with a man who needs no introduction. He is the world's most dangerous man, a man that has more lifetime submission victories than I've done lifetime push ups. Ken Shamrock. Ken, thank you very much for meeting with me today.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
So, Ken, this Saturday, whose side are you on? Tito Ortiz versus Alberto El Patron. Who do you see, or how do you see this fight going down?
Well, first of all, it's not about uh, liking or disliking any individual. I think Alberto's done a lot. I know who he is, and he's done stuff in pro wrestling, and he's got some credentials inside the cage in the ring with submissions and knockouts. But we're talking about Tito Ortiz, right? A guy at one time in his weight division where they couldn't find anybody to fight him because he was destroying everybody. Pound for pound, the best fighter in the world at one time. Uh, Hall of Fame, definitely. Um, and I don't, I don't see him slowing down. And quite frankly, I think, unfortunately, Alberto he has not seen the same competition Tito Ortiz has. Tito has fought the best fighters in the world and destroyed them all. And Alberto has been in there and has done average. And it's still just to get in a ring, it's something. So I respect what he's done. But he's at no way at the level of Tito Ortiz. Just is not going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Well, the fight this Saturday from Texas, Combate Americas. Now, Combate Americas recently just partnered with Access. Access is also the home to Impact Wrestling, a place that you've been before. And Impact has worked with Bellator in the past. Do you ever foresee Impact and Combate possibly doing a crossover?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's pro wrestling and this world of fighting. You go back to the 1900s, 1940s. You talk about wrestlers; they were really tough guys. And you talk about the fighters, bare knuckle fighting and people in the ring fighting. They were known as tough people. So you had wrestling and boxing, bare knuckle boxing, which were the toughest guys in the world at that time, back in the 1900s and the 1940s. So I think absolutely there's a crossover because I still think pro wrestling has got some really tough guys in there and that have and we've seen it, had them cross over and do very successful at both.
Mm-hmm. Well, funny you say that. Speaking of bare knuckle, you started a promotion recently. Valor, I believe it's called. Valor Bare Knuckle had an event in September, I believe was the annual one. Do you foresee more events coming up? And do you foresee any pro wrestlers with bare knuckle experience? For example, Stu Bennett, Bad News Barrett, has bare knuckle experience. Do you ever see pro wrestlers coming in and possibly having a fight with you guys?
Well, first of all, we do have another event. In 2020, we've got 4 or 5 scheduled. I know that January 11th is our next fight in Kissimmee, which is just outside of Orlando, Florida. And it's January 11th. We're doing our second Valor BK. LeVar Johnson, which is the challenger of our champion, Mark the Hand of God Beer. So I think that that fight's going to do well. We also have a grudge match with Mike Richmond, the Marine Richmond, against Lamar. I think that's how you pronounce it. But sorry, I've got a cold here.
He's
but
doing good. Still the most
it's
dangerous cold I've
yeah,
ever
yeah.
seen.
So I think that the second one in what we have scheduled is going to be better than the first, which is really a tough thing to say because we had a great first one. The second one, man, especially when you talk about our main event against Lavar and Mark, our champion Mark Godbeer, facing our number one contender, which is Lavar Johnson at the heavyweight division for the belt on January 11th in Kissimmee outside of Orlando. Don't miss it.
Don't do not miss it on January 11th. Let's shift back. You were talking before about Alberto and Tito. Tito, you say, one of the former heavyweight champions, one of the best in the world, a guy that you have been in the cage with several times. Can you talk a little bit about or comment on the fact that your guys' feud possibly changed MMM history for the better? Can you just talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, it was something that when I talked about Tito just dominating the division, right? He was just beating everybody. Unfortunately, though, there was really nobody watching at that time. 30,000 buys, 15,000 buys was really bad. So they came and got me, and because there was nobody else that really could fight Tito, he was just beating everybody, and so I went in there and to help build the pay per view market up, and we killed it. I mean, there was some bad blood between us. We were able to bring that out. We were able to get the fans to see what was going on between that bad blood with me and him. And he went in there, and in all three fights, he destroyed me. And so that's why I'm looking at this fight and looking at the competitors here. And you know, Tito's credentials, man, he's earned them. And it's going to be a rough night for anybody that steps in against Tito. That's just the way it is. That's just the way I feel.
If it's okay, I ask, you say that there was bad blood in your guys' feud. At this point, have you guys officially buried the hatchet?
Oh, absolutely. The world of MMA, no holds barred, it's for fighters, and fighters go in and they do what they do. But I believe this: once it's said and done, the fans deserve to see the guys be able to shake hands and be able to put those beefs behind them because we settled it in the ring. Whatever our disagreements were, whatever our feuds were, when we go in there and we punch each other in the head and we lock in all these submission holds and do what we do inside the ring, and the bell rings and one guy gets his hand raised, the other guy loses, you put the beef away. It's done. You settled it. It's over.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your pro wrestling career, my man. You've done it all inside the cage. You've also done it all inside the ring. You came back recently, faced Joey Ryan in a match. Now, you have faced guys of all different calibers in the pro wrestling world. You faced showmen like The Rock. You faced technicians like Bret Hart. Talking about Joey Ryan, what was that experience like? Because he works such a different style than a lot of guys do these days.
Well, it's entertainment. And you're not allowed to draw a line in the sand of what you think entertainment is. I mean, if you think that, oh, that's just not entertainment, well, a million other people do. And it's proven through the social media networks. I mean, Joey Ryan's a popular guy. So it bothers me when people start screaming and pointing fingers and saying, well, why you're above that? You shouldn't be doing that stuff. And it's like, I don't get to make the rules. I mean, I don't get to say, oh, what's entertainment, what's not entertainment. I'm here to do my job, and that's what I do. And if you don't like that, go talk to somebody else that can do something about it because I can't. I'm just doing my job.
Well, can I just say, I thought you did your job very well because it was as entertaining as any Ken Shamrock match, and I'm happy that it is now in the filmography of wrestling matches that have taken place. Wanted to ask you about a little promotion. I know Josh Barnett is a guy that you know, another MMA guy. He runs an annual event now, GCW, called Bloodsport. Very much like Valor, where it's there, not unlike Valor, but it is a hybrid pro wrestling and MMA. Do you possibly think that we could see Ken Shamrock on a Bloodsport card in the future?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I'm always open to competition, and especially that kind of competition. And I think what they're doing is awesome because that's originally how I started in the MMA world was doing that kind of fights. So kudos to them. I think it's a great spot for it. I hope they have much success, and I think it has a place in this world. So keep going, man. I'm behind you.
It's always good to have the world's most dangerous man behind you. You also had a recent fight with former MLW champion Tom Lawlor, Ultimate Barroom Brawl. Also a very entertaining bout, also a very different type of style. Is that something we could possibly see from you in the future?
Well, if the right, I guess, uh, time and opportunity, yes. I'm a competitor and I love entertaining, so those two go together. And so if that opportunity arises and it fits and it makes sense, then I'm in.
Mm, okay. Let's flash back a little bit. We're almost done too, my men. Let's flash back a little bit, back to Brawl for All, something that
Yeah,
the WWE held. Was there a particular reason you were not involved in that at the time?
I chose not to. Um, I worked hard to gain trust with the wrestlers, people I was working with. I just came from the world of fighting, and then they wanted me to get into this brawl for all, and I thought to myself, I'm a professional fighter. It's like, why it's not fair to those guys for me to go in and get involved in that because I'm at a different level. So when they asked me to do it, I respectfully declined, and I felt to myself, "You're going to pay me $50,000 for going in there and fighting for real when I make over $1 million to fight in something like that, and I'm
Mm.
going to fight multiple times in order to win it, and I'm going to get 50 grand." And it wasn't even really so much that per se, but it was more about me being the professional fighter and these guys being amateurs. It just to me didn't make sense to me go in there and beat these guys, and it just didn't make sense to me to go in and do that. It was an amateur deal, and I'm not an amateur. I'm a professional fighter.
Mhm, mhm. What did you think of the tournament overall, if you could recall some of it?
I loved it. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was a great mixture. It really tested those guys to go out there and do something different, and so I was for it. I loved it.
That's great. That's great to hear. We loved it as fans, and he loved it as well. Let me ask you a quick question now about Impact again. It's so nice to have had you back, especially with your long, prestigious history with the promotion. Not to compare it to WWE, but a big criticism that WWE always gets is keeping talents in a kind of creative frustration. Was that something that you ever felt during your time there? And do you feel that you had more creative freedom when you were with Impact?
I do. I love the idea that the kind of the creative process at Impact, we're able to kind of talk through things and kind of create our own little storylines, and they have some guidelines there, but overall, we get to kind of create the character that we want to go into with the ring. So I like that. I've never been frustrated at any point in time about what people were doing. There was things I agreed with, things I didn't agree with, and I just basically, when I didn't agree with something, I didn't do it. So for me, I think it's just about having an open mind and being able to work with people and being able to create a good product. In the end, that's what it's all about. It's trying to create a good product. And if it's something that you're not really feeling good about, just express your opinion and don't do it.
Final question for you, Ken. Let's shift back a little bit again. Tito Ortiz, Alberto Albertrone, big fight on Saturday. Do you ever foresee yourself maybe stepping out of retirement to step into the cage with Alberto or step into the cage one more time with Tito?
Well, at this point in time, man, I'm promoting Valor Bare Knuckle. I'm happy there. I look forward to creating challenges and opportunities for other fighters to really follow their dreams. I love being able to entertain in the ring with Impact Wrestling. I love what I'm doing there. So right now, I think I'm happy where I'm at. I mean, I never say never, but at this point in time, I'm kind of really happy with where I'm at in my life.
Well, that's very good to hear, Ken. And let me just say, as a longtime fan, it makes me happy to know that you're happy and in a good place. So thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it and good luck to you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.